Hi, in this video I'll show the special characteristics of snare drums and how to tune them properly. Snare drums differ from other drums in many ways, not only because of the snare wires. The resonant head is very thin, the overall tuning is usually very high, and most snare drums have a so-called snare bed on the resonant side. The snare bed consists of two opposite depressions in the bearing edge at the snare strainer and butt end. It improves the response of the snare wires. When tuning the resonant head into the snare bed, the head becomes slightly domed in the middle. This allows the wires to respond more accurately at a looser tension. On the snare reso, you can check the luck tensions or luck frequencies like on other drums. I recommend a soft felt stick for this task as for drum tuning in general. For tuning the snare reso, it's also common to use a folding rule to check the vertical distance between the hoop and the head. The hoop will deform slightly to fit the snare bed. Normally, the snare reso is tuned very high. For 14-inch snare drums, the luck frequency of the reso should be between 350 and 400 Hz, but always tuned equal to a single frequency, for example 380 Hz. Some people tune the snare reso as high as possible and just crank it up. Although a high tuning is appropriate, at a certain point you risk damaging the thin head. There are no real benefits of an extremely high snare reso tension. Tuning the better head is nothing special, just also fairly high. With the reso tuned as mentioned, a medium-pitched fundamental note for a 14-inch snare drum would be around 200 Hz. In comparison, a medium-pitched fundamental note of a 14-inch tom would only be around 100 Hz. The overall fundamental note develops from the interaction between the better and resonant head. I've already explained this in another tutorial, which I've linked in the description. It's common to adjust the final pitch of snare drums only via the better head and leave the reso at a fixed tension. This leads to another benefit, which I'll mention in the next chapter. At first, make sure you finished the tuning of the reso, because tightening the reso will result in less wire tension and vice versa. With extreme reso tuning changes, you will probably have to readjust the wire mounting. The snare wires should be mounted centered and even in their final position. With a single strainer system, you can offset the wires slightly toward the butt end to compensate for the tightening that follows when adjusting the screw. A useful trick is to completely loosen the screw and then mount the wires hand tight with the strainer switch engaged. After turning the drum to its normal position with the better head on top, the wires should dip slightly. Tightening the screw to an appropriate tension should leave enough space for a good adjustment range. To achieve moderate tension with good response, I hit the snare very quietly while tightening the screw until the wires respond well. My preferred tension is reached when the wires no longer respond to extremely quiet hits, quieter than ghost notes. If you tighten the wires further, the response to quiet hits will also decrease further and the snare will start to sound choked. So there's always a sweet spot for the wire tension. I also check the sound with louder hits in the final kit position, considering the interaction with other drums. If the snare wires decay too long, this is sometimes caused by resonance with a tom, for example. In most cases, you can solve this by adjusting the tuning of one drum slightly. To fine-tune the reso with the wires mounted, you can just place a drumstick between the wires and the hoop. This is an overall good starting point for tuning any snare drum. With smaller diameters, the fundamental notes will of course be slightly higher. I hope I was able to shed some light on this topic. Have fun tuning, and if you like this video, please hit like and subscribe. Cheers!